This is the rhythm of change. This is the sound of redemption. This is the way that we bring it down. Down, down, 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 down. Igniting the fire within you. Exalting the melody of freedom. These are the things that will bring it down. Down, down, 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 down. So gather the faithful. Tell everyone to stand and shout loud. Shout loud. Shout loud. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it way down. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it down, down. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it way down. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it down, down. Down, down, down.
Let me tell you, it's in the air. Joy is in the air. Love is in the air. Can you feel it? What it feel like? Freedom. What it feel like? Don't sleep on it, brother. You might get left, sister. Can you feel it? What it feel like? Freedom. What it feel like? Justice. No need to be counted, cause I am down. Down, down, down. Down, down, down. Down for the end of racism, for the end of bigotry, cause I am down. For the end of misogyny, that's right. For all the isms out there, just down, down, down. Let's bring it down. Rise up, people. No more foolishness, and let's bring it way down.
Riding the river of change into the cries of contrition. This is the way that we bring it down. Down, down, 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 down. We are the children of Eden, dancing and celebrating freedom. We are the ones that must bring it down. Down, down, 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 down. So gather the faithful. Tell everyone to stand and shout loud. Shout loud. Shout loud. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it way down. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it down, down. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it way down. Let's bring it down. We've got to bring it down. Down. Stand up and shout. Stand up and shout. Rise together.
Accountability starts now. The Eric Dawson Radio Show.
Yeah. Rise up. Stand up, shouting loud.
If you are not prepared to come to that table and to represent that voice, don't come. Because we don't need any more brown faces that don't want to be a brown voice. We don't need black faces that don't want to be a black voice. We don't need Muslims that don't want to be a Muslim voice. We don't need queers that don't want to be a queer voice. And if you're worried about being marginalized and stereotyped, please don't even show up.
stay the at home. The Rona is spreading. The is no joke. It's no time to work or roam. The way you can fight it is simple, my friends. Just stay the at home. Now, technically, I'm not a doctor, but mother listen when I read a poem. So here I am, Sam Jackson, imploring you, keep your ass at home. If you want things to get back to normal, don't panic. Just use your dome. Wash your hands, stop touching your face, and stay the at home. It's no time to gamble. Look around, you're not at a casino. Just stay the home as if your name was Trenton Quarantino. Sure, you can still see your friends. Use the app on your phone. But unless you just ran out of groceries, please stay the at home. Thank you for doing your part to flatten the curve, because that is steep. And now that you're home, please feel free to go to sleep. The end.
Welcome, guys, to another episode of the Eric Dawson Radio Show. Today is Friday. Happy Friday. Happy rainy Friday.
Yay! So glad it's Friday.
They said April showers bring May flowers, but now it's raining in May. What's up with that?
Oh, happy May Day.
Happy May Day, yeah. Happy
May the 1st. Yeah.
Listen, go ahead. I'm sorry, Vincent.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, a wonderful rainy May day, but, during the age of this coronavirus or COVID-19, every day seems like the same.
Amina said to me today, she said, what's today's date? She said, what is today? And I said, it's Friday. She goes, are you serious? And I said, and we talked about this, Diane, off air, I think. Mm-hmm. It's important to maintain a routine during this, because you can get swallowed up and all the days begin to blend together, right? So I wake up every morning at about 3:30, 4 o'clock, right? And I begin my day. And some people have now taken to sleeping in late, doing some other kinds of things, and I'm not necessarily critical of it. Maybe you need to rest. But understand, you can develop bad habits. I think I mentioned before that, 6 weeks or something like that of doing the same thing over and over again, you will now imprint it and it will be a habit, bad or good.
28 days.
Is it 28 days?
28 days of consistency creates a habit.
Yeah, so 28 days, so 1 month, right? So what you do in 1 month time consistently will develop a habit, good or bad. And so I told Amina, I said, the way that I'm able to know what day it is because my routine hasn't changed, right? I get to, the queen of the show has been on more frequently, and thank God for that. You guys get to benefit from her wisdom. But I know on Thursdays that I have Diane on. And so, when Amina asked me...
Wait a minute, except for the Thursdays, I can't remember it's Thursday and I'm on Wednesday.
But I remember, and then I'm like, oh, shoot. And then I also know garbage day here in Bloomfield on this side of town is Wednesday. It's Thursday. So I know I took the garbage out yesterday. I know. So those things that are linked to that day, I know, right? I know now that we have Dietra on Tuesdays, right? So those kinds of things, as I'm prepping my day, I am aware. And then my clients, because I have deliveries and conversations and other kinds of things set for them during the course of the week, I know then too, so I'm able to anchor it to that. So it's important, guys, to keep some sort of a routine so that you have good habits, not bad habits, post-COVID-19. Anyway, so
absolutely,
we've got a lot to talk about. Maybe we'll get to some pop news. I don't know what pop news there is, but if there is,
got some.
You guys
always got some.
All right, so we're going to talk about that. I want to definitely, because I watched the interview and I told you, I have brought MSNBC back into my home reluctantly, but
Okay.
it's time to do it, right? I had immersed myself for over 2 months into what I call the alternate universe of Fox Entertainment.
Oh
And
God.
but it's important to do that because you want to know, almost like if you were going to travel, Diane, to a foreign country, right? You try to immerse yourself into that language so that you can understand what they're talking about when you get there. So
Oh,
as
yeah.
we approach November, right, I want to have a clear understanding of what they're talking about. So I immerse myself in their language. Now I am bilingual, if you will, with regard to MSNBC, Fox Entertainment. And so today I split my screen because, Mika Brzezinski and Joe Scarborough, they had a great opening argument, and I'm going to call it that, before they brought Joe Biden on. So they had their individual monologues, which was to prep their viewing and listening audience for the interview that was to come a few minutes afterwards. And then after I watched that interview, I had the split screen and I had it paused on Fox, and then I played Fox. And it's crazy because if you don't watch one and watch the other, you would think that something completely different occurred. So I watched both of them, and I know you asked me at the beginning of the show, Vincent, what I really thought about the Biden thing. And I believe that something happened. What happened?
What you mean?
I'm not, well, look.
Politically, emotionally, physically, like
so,
what?
So
What do you
a
mean?
little graphic right now. The woman who's accusing Joe Biden said that he pressed her against the wall, put his hand up her skirt, and inserted his fingers into her vagina. Bam. Okay? Now.
Consensual or not consensual?
Not consensual. She then reported this, allegedly, to some friends, a neighbor, her mother, some other family members, when it occurred 27 years ago. Okay. Her mother then appeared by phone on the Larry King show, asking how her daughter could find some relief, who she could go to. See, one of the things that we have to understand, Diane, as you sit in the comfort of your home, Vincent, you and yours, me and mine, and all you guys who are tuning in, that space that folks operate in, that political space, especially when you're in Washington and you're talking about U.S. senators, congressmen, the president of the United States, that's some powerful stuff down there. And they can not only impact your life, but they can affect the lives of your loved ones and friends.
Absolutely.
Right?
They can
And
shut
so
the whole
while
world
we
down.
sit here comfortably, crossing our legs, passing judgment about who said what and who didn't say what and what time they came out and, and why did they come out earlier, you have no idea the level of pressure that is put on people in that political space. Now, go ahead, Diane.
So this is what I'm going to say. Been in a situation, not as extent to that, but had comments made to me, reported it to the Democratic chairperson at the time, and several other people in the circle went back and addressed it with the gentleman. This is the thing in politics. You have to be decisive about who you are and where you want to go and what your purpose is. And with any transgression, you have to decide what is going to hold you back and what you're going to be able to release and move forward with. Whether it's revenge, that you physically go after somebody, whether it's revenge if you go after somebody legally, or if you find peace with yourself to say, I have to forgive because me carrying this is more on me than it is on the person who has transgressed against me. That's what I have to say. Right. Now, on top of that, I'm going to say we collectively, not us, not me, collectively elected a person, a president, who has already admitted to fondling, talking crap about women, doing all kinds of absurd things. My thing is when she talked about this transgression that happened between her and Biden, he was the vice president. But she didn't come out and talk about it then. Right. And I understand that you might not have talked about it to a lot of people. You might have just told your family members, your mom, and stuff like that. And of course, they're going to support you, believe you, and be behind you all the way. But right now, in all honesty, it's not going to make a difference. She's not going to get the relief that she wants to get. She's not going to feel any better. If he becomes president, it's going to be a mark on her mind forever every time she turns the TV on. So at some point, you have to ask yourself and ask the person who is coming out with this, what is your end goal? What are you trying to get out of this? If you're trying to get peace out of this, then you need to have a direct conversation with him to try and get that. If you're trying to humiliate him politically, it can't be done. We already call him Uncle Joe. We know he's shady.
Right.
We know he's a potential pedophile in some ways.
Well, can we say the same thing about Donald Trump?
Allegedly.
But I want to. But see, this is where I want to kind of go with this, right? Before people retreat, and I see some of the comments in the thread already, where people are retreating to their blue corner or their red corner, right? On this, I'm a Democrat, and so this is how I'm coming at it. I got all my talking points because they gave them all to me, or I'm a Republican, and I got all my talking points, and I'm. But in the middle of this, we're talking about human beings. We're talking about lives. We're talking about how people are being affected. So when I talk about this chessboard and how they move pieces on this chessboard with callousness, this is kind of what I'm talking about right now, Diane. So look, I don't know, and I said this when Kavanaugh was being confirmed and they were having the Senate hearings. I said, look, we can't judge. I don't think I'm not in any position to do this, to judge when and if a woman should ever come out when she's reached a level of pain and agony where she finally says, here's the tipping point. And then so for the people who say, and understand this, I'm not on either side. I just want the goddamn truth. And I want women who are abused to know that there's a place that they should be able to go to and find comfort, right? And I said the same thing about Dr. Blasey Ford. So when you reach that level, and so maybe the trigger point is when you have somebody who reaches a point of arrogance to believe that they could be the leader of the free freaking world. And maybe now she's sitting there going, are you freaking kidding me? And maybe that was her trigger point. And for some men in particular, screw you. Screw you. You have no idea the pain that they go through. And so for you to sit there with your goddamn privilege and to judge women about when and if they should come out, to hell with you. Shut the F up. Now, look, here's what I'm going to say. Here's what I'm going to say. I want, and I posted these, and let's not retreat to our blue corners or red corners. But when Dr. Blasey Ford, and I was in support of her being heard, right? Now, and at that point, I was on the side of, or I should say Nancy Pelosi was on my side, not because I'm a Democrat and she's a Democrat, but because we both, I thought, believed that women should be heard. This is what she said, and I posted it. This morning, I took time to watch Christine Blasey Ford's deeply moving opening statement. Thank you for your bravery. This is from Nancy Pelosi. So now I'm saying, well, where's the accolades to the bravery of this woman coming forward talking about Joe Biden? Or is it only if it's a person who is ridiculing a Republican? Now, here is Stacey Abrams back then. She says, I believe women and I believe survivors of violence always deserve to be supported and to have their voices heard. But where's Stacey Abrams now? And here's another one. Wait, but here's Joe Biden. Quote, for a woman to come forward in the glaring lights of focus nationally, you've got to start off with the presumption that at least the essence of what she's talking about is real. Whether or not she forgets facts, whether or not it's been made worse or better over time. Quote, end quote, Joe Biden. So now, I am where I was during the Kavanaugh hearings. Eric Dawson has not moved in terms of his position, but those three people obviously have. You see, if you go back and rewind to the episodes when Dr. Ford was making her accusations, you'll see that I was as vehemently on her side as I am now on this woman's side, that she should be heard.
So
why have you now moved? Why did you
hear?
Do you want them to have an investigation?
Look, I believe, this is what I am. See, call yourself a goddamn hypocrite then, right? And I'm talking all of you. See, because you can't do both things. I mean, this is crazy. I can go back in threads and look at people who were trashing Kavanaugh, and literally without any real evidence, before the hearings even started, they had already retreated to their red and blue corners. And I'm not just talking about Republicans. Democrats. I'm talking about Republicans too. See, now you want to come out with your canines exposed, drooling, growling, ready to jump on Joe Biden, but you weren't prepared. You weren't prepared to jump on Kavanaugh. See, I'm saying both sides. See, the bird is dirty on both wings. And I'm tired of it. And now women are being used. And you need to understand that. You're being used right now. You're being weaponized. You're not being considered. And in the end, the next woman who has the courage to come forward will look at moments like this and say, why? Why? And in the Me Too movement, screw you too. What do you stand for? You have just become a political organization that is now being weaponized as well.
Correct.
I'm telling you, where can a woman, look, we got to figure this out. We got to figure this out. Everything can't be about politics. Sometimes we just got to look at humanity. And we're not doing that now. And then again, I know, folks are, because I got to protect Joe Biden. Why? Because the media has told me that the existential threat is Donald Trump. And at any cost, throw women on the train. Throw black on the train tracks. Throw black people on the train tracks. Throw everybody on the train tracks. And run them all over. What is his name?
Senator Franken, whatever, out of Michigan or Ohio, when he was accused. And with that, they stated that if there had to be an investigation and you had to prove yourself to be innocent, that the tax dollars of the residents and of the people would not be used to help with your investigation. So you would have to financially pay for your own outside attorney and all of it.
So now you're victimized again.
But no, not the victim. I'm talking about the person being accused, the senator or whomever. They can't use tax dollars anymore to defend themselves. That's what they're saying after that happened with him.
Which is bull crap, because they got taxed out. They're getting paid by tax dollars.
Thank you. Thank you.
Exactly.
And not only are they getting paid by tax dollars, but they also start these legal defense funds, right? And it's just another way for many of their supporters, financial supporters, right, to contribute to them. So
to help support, because Senator Menendez had it.
Yeah, that's
correct.
Right.
Correct. But the thing is, let's look at it. Eric, I agree with what you said, and because you have to look at when men do violent acts against women, especially rape, sex, fondling, whatever they do. It's majority. It's pretty much linked to them wanting power or control over that woman or circumstance. But then we go into the situation where we've seen it time after time after time, that in terms of politics and running against them, your opponent, rather D or R or whatever the case may be, will do an opposition and find somebody. Now, and they will turn that tragedy into their agenda to destroy another person. We've seen it with Gary Hart and his sex scandal. He could have been president. Then we saw, then it came up again because sex sells to the American people. We we saw when Clarence Thomas and Anita Hill. Then we saw it again when someone accused George Herbert Walker Bush. And then we saw it again with Bill Clinton. The one thing that I loved about the Me Too movement in the beginning was that it became a pure movement. Women weren't calling out people. They were just saying that, no, this is real and this happens to me. And that's real pain. But when somebody takes your pain and weaponize it against someone else, you know, it becomes like, okay, now this situation, you wait till a person reaches a level of prominence, and then all of a sudden, someone talks to you that knows your story, and then push you to go forward, then it's just too convenient.
Well, like I said,
that's where it runs into problems.
So I can't even, again, I can't begin to imagine if a person has been, let's just assume, and I'm gonna be where all these people were. We gotta assume that some of what she's saying is true. That's what Biden said. That's what Stacey Abrams said, right? So if I'm gonna take that posture, and I took that posture with Dr. Blasey Ford, and I'm taking it now with this woman. So if I do that, I'm looking saying, okay, so now she's coming forward. So maybe she's watching all of this, and maybe she was okay and was able to reconcile in her own pain the guy being vice president, the guy doing all these other things, right? But now when she's watching the entire nation on the Democrat side and the media rally behind this man saying that he is electable, that he is such a wonderful guy, maybe she just got full. My mother used to say, Eric, you get emotionally full at some point and then it just spills out.
So what they're saying in speed, one second, Michael Duncan said that Tara Kaufman did file a report with the Senate Personnel Office in 1993. And to go back to what I was saying, it was Al Franken in Minnesota. Thanks, Mark. So she did file a personnel complaint report then in 93. And it went
so now
on
understand this. Understand what's going on. If you watch the interview today, Joe Biden has said, you know, hey, listen, go into the National Archives, do all the searching you want. And now this is one thing I give Mika Brzezinski credit for, but she was told to ask the question because she had to ask the question. She said, well, what about the University of Delaware? What about the Senate Archives? What about those? Will you authorize a search for her name there? And then Joe Biden started doing the moonwalk. Right? And it was a very simple answer. He should have said yes. Go everywhere. Search everywhere. But that's not what he said. See, she said go into the Senate archives. And that's what Mark is saying here, that she filed a report. But he didn't authorize that. He authorized the National Archives. Go into the Senate records and see what's in there. You see, listen, I'm telling you guys, look, for all of you guys who want to retreat to your Democrat corner and you want to get rid of Donald Trump, you've got too much baggage with this guy. And no matter how much the media tries to protect him, when we get into the throes of the national debate, there will be no protecting him.
So what's the end game? What's the end game? What do we want out of this?
Well,
do we want to know that he did it?
Diane.
And do you think, even knowing that they will release him from the Democratic nomination?
Listen, that's the key. That's the key is the end game.
But you asked what you want. What do you want? Do you want the truth?
Are you
willing to
never get
sacrifice
the truth.
What?
We never get the truth. We never
But
get
we should be
the
striving
truth.
for it.
Yeah, we should be striving for it, but then we have to look at some other particulars. Is this woman looking to actually, you know, get some level of peace with this, or is she looking to get revenge?
Why do I care? Wait a minute. Stop. No, I'm going to tell you to stop. Why do I care? Listen, if she had wait a minute. No, I'm not going to wait. I'm not going to wait. If she had this man press her up against a goddamn wall, insert his fingers into her vagina, why do I care what her motivation is? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
Because the motivation at that particular time could have been voluntary, as opposed to she didn't get what she wanted and then it
maybe
turned around
she wants to see him burn in hell.
Correct.
But maybe she wants
her motivation right now could be the simple fact of exposure and getting money to smear his name.
So what? Maybe she wants to see him burn in hell. Why do I care? Why am I going to tell her what she ought to be wanting? Are you kidding
Why
me,
do you
Vincent?
care, Eric? Because you should care, especially because you're running for office.
Vincent,
so
listen.
anybody who wait a minute, listen to me. So
You
anybody
keep telling
right
me
now,
to wait a minute. No,
Eric,
what?
Let's
What?
breathe for a second. Now you're running for office, so anybody who has a beef against you can pay anybody to say anything that you know is going to be fake. But during that time period, that's 2 years of them dragging you through the mud.
Vincent, but listen, look. So here's what I'm saying to you is this: if somebody came up with some news and whatever about me, right? Or they said that they want to accuse me of doing something, because I know that I didn't do it, Vincent. I'm gonna open up every book I can as quickly as I can so that we can bring it to a resolution. I'm not gonna have speech writers writing speeches for me and people telling me what to say because I'm trying to cover some stuff up. So Joe Biden today could have simply said, "Yeah, open it all up." Open it all up.
So
wait a minute. And then beyond that, why did Joe Biden wait so long? See, understand this too, right? If you didn't do it, see, my father always says, it's better be above suspicion. So Joe Biden should be getting above suspicion. But that's not what he's doing, right? So he carefully picked where he was going to go to have his interview. But prior to having the interview, what did he do? He released a statement that in the opening statement of Mika Brzezinski and Joe Scarborough this morning, they read his statement, right, to prime the audience. And then they came out. And then as he was speaking, I'm watching my phone, and CNN, MSNBC, and all the news networks are sending me updates now because they're saying, okay, here's what Biden said. So now they're peppering you with all of the narrative that they want you to have as talking points. And
You're going out, Eric. You're getting a little too loud for your mic.
And I'm saying, get above all of that. Get above all of that, Joe. Just come out. Be the plain guy.
Eric, so let's assume that it's true. Let's assume it wasn't consensual. Now what?
So what I'm saying is this: the Democratic Party. And caller, please hold. I know I got you on. What I'm saying is this: it is apparent to me that the Democratic Party is not seeking the truth. That the Democratic Party is seeking to nominate a guy that they, from the very beginning, said was electable. Now, at the point that if you're seeking the truth, right, you may realize, wow, this guy may not be electable. So pivot. Somebody in the thread said, oh, we should be looking at Cuomo. We should be looking at, so then do that, right? Go say, you know what? Maybe we need to come out and be the party of integrity and say, hey, listen, we're going to open up. No, but this is.
But you know they can't do that, because if they do that and they throw Biden out with the baby water, then now Sanders is back in.
Well, but now you're talking politics over humanity, right? And
this
I'm just
is not
saying,
about
be honest
humanity.
about what
This is
we're
about
doing.
them winning.
This is not about humanity, because if it was about humanity, it would have been handled years ago. This is about politics.
I agree with you.
This is them weaponizing her tragedy for their gain.
Right, and that's all I want people to fully understand. And now all of the people who are retreating to their Republican or Democratic corners are part of this tragedy now. Call or go.
Well, to Diane, what to do if you do assume that, okay, she's telling the truth, then burn them. Burn them. Like you would burn anybody that's done somebody wrong. And to Vince, bro, are you bugging? There's no way you can say that a person's motives for why they do something after they've been done wrong is even in question. It doesn't matter. If I do you wrong, whatever you do to me after that is fair game. It doesn't matter why, whether you're doing it for money, exposure, publicity, whatever. What does it matter? If I've already crossed the line, what does it matter what a person does in response to you doing that? You've already crossed the line. So once the line has been crossed, all gloves are off. All bets are off. I can do what I want to do now. And to Diane, again, if somebody has done wrong, burn them. Why not? You'd burn anybody else. You'd burn it if it was your daughter. If it was your daughter that was making that same accusation and you believed her, then you'd go all out against the person that did it.
Oh, yeah. With all the force within my being.
Right.
But here's the situation.
There is no but to that.
There is no but to that.
There is.
No, there is not.
Because we find out.
There's no but to Eric Dawson or anybody in this world touching my daughter wrong.
Oh, there is no but
my
to that.
My daughter could have been walking with a G-string and all kinds of things. And if somebody walked up and touched her and she said, Dad, I didn't want him to, and I didn't tell him to, there is no but. I'm not going to say, but you asked for it, but you was in a situation you shouldn't have been in. I'm be like, fair game, I got him.
Okay,
There's
so
no but to it.
now that happened, and we're talking about maybe 10 years now after that event. This guy was investigated, and everything is fine. So 15 years later, somebody comes up to your door and goes, "Here is $500,000. I want you to bring the story back up."
Okay, let me answer that, Farrakhan. So here's my deal, right? Here's my deal. Maybe she looks and says, you know what? I'm gonna take the $500,000 and I'm gonna burn them anyway. Right? Maybe she does that. And my question to you, Vincent, sitting in the comfort of your home, right, not having dealt with whatever the pain she suffered for those 27 years, who the hell are you to say that she shouldn't do whatever is going to comfort her in that moment?
Listen, what I'm saying to you is the same thing that I said previously. Comfort in that moment, reacting at that particular time, that is well within her means and rights, and nobody should ever question that particular thing. But when you bring it up again at this convenient time, when a person is running for the most highest public figure in America, it's convenient. It looks convenient.
So what? So what?
And it's all about. So what? So okay, now your revenge. You're going to exact revenge for money, and the simple fact that now you're going to take someone down who can
Pause. You just said you're going to exact revenge for money. No, she's exacting revenge for being crossed, for being assaulted. Now it doesn't matter if she gets money out of it. She has been disrespected, and once you've been disrespected, there are no rules to that. There are no rules
if someone did something like that to me and the opportunity came up, I'd do it for free.
Okay, that's you. Wait a minute. But that's you. And you know what? I'm not going to judge how you decide to handle it. But now because you said you do it free, you believe that everybody else should do it the way that Vincent does it. And then what I'm saying to you is everybody is going to handle their pain differently. And how you decide to burn somebody who did you wrong is different from how somebody else is going to burn them. But at the end of the day, to Farrakhan's point, and I agree with him, if you say you're going to burn them, then burn them. That's what I'm saying. And so, and beyond that, here's where I am. That we have all been manipulated, all of us, by Democrats and Republicans to believe that somehow we're about humanity, but in reality, they have institutionalized us to retreat to these red and blue corners when these fights break out. And we never stand with each other as human beings, right? We fight against each other as Democrats and Republicans. And that's why we never benefit as people.
And that's what this actual thing is doing. Look at the Clarence Thomas hearings. It divided us. There were a lot of people who did not like Clarence Thomas, but when they started going after him using a black woman, a lot of black people became in favor of him. The same thing with Kavanaugh. There were people who did not like him, but then the convenience of this person coming out when he's being appointed to the Supreme Court, it anchored people to his side. Now, you cannot take away a woman's pain. And you cannot take away the way that women will rally around each other in supporting them and their pain. And men as well. You can't take that away. But what I'm saying to you is this. When you take that and it becomes convenient and weaponized, it dilutes the actual pain and power that this person has experienced.
Well, you know what it does? What it does is there's a moment where you, as the person who's watching it, have to make some decisions about, where you stand. So I don't look at the timing of it. I look at the pain. And like I said, I am where Nancy Pelosi, where Stacey Abrams, and where Joe Biden was. That's where I always am. Even in the 2018 election in Newark, when you had women coming out talking about how they had experienced sexual abuse in City Hall, right? I was all for folks looking into those allegations. And you have people saying, well, the timing of it is incredible because the mayor is running. And I said, look, I can't tell you when these people are gonna finally be able to manage their pain to the point where they're coming public, right? I was on the phone with one woman during that time. She called me from Texas. She had relocated her whole family because of the pain and the embarrassment that she had endured, right? And so to say, well, if she had, and she didn't come out, but she just wanted to tell me what the culture was. Right now, has she come out, the same thing that you're saying? Well, the timing is pretty suspicious, young lady. And I'm saying to myself, really? Is that where we want to take that conversation with her? While she's weeping on the phone, while she's relocated her entire goddamn family, I want to talk to her about how suspicious her timing is, as opposed to saying, you know what a brave person you are, that you held on to this for all this time. And in a lot of cases, when we talk about people, they don't go to counseling, they don't do any of this stuff. They just hold on to it. Thank God they didn't commit suicide. But we want to talk to them about their timing. Oh, your timing is suspicious because it doesn't fit our political narrative at the moment, because we've been conditioned to retreat into a political corner, right? And so now you're coming out and you are offending me. Your coming out right now is offensive to me because I have been directed by either the Republican or the Democratic Party to be in support of a candidate. And so how dare you come out now and inconvenience my mission? That's what we're saying.
There you go. Once again, the late thing, and here is the effect of that, this late coming out, or all of a sudden this new emergence of bravery to come forward with your event. Now, because you're doing that, now let's look at not only affecting her life, but let's look at the other life, especially if it's not true. Let's look at the Biden family and what they'll have to go through. Sure. You're talking about her moving? Look at the other one.
Sure.
Look at the other one.
Sure.
Dr. Joe Biden is a very credible woman.
Let me ask you a question.
Look at what she would go through.
Let me ask you
Wait a minute.
Did you have the same conversation about Kavanaugh's kids and his wife? Were you as passionate about that?
I could have cared less because I knew it was a political stunt. And the woman got on there and testified, and here she is, a clinical psychologist, and people pay her to prep people to lie on the stand.
Right. So listen. So what I'm saying to you is this. If you were as passionate about Joe Kavanaugh's family, his children, his wife, and what they were enduring, as you are about this one, in this case, then I applaud you, because I say, you know what? You're looking at this even-handedly. But for those people who wanted to burn Kavanaugh,
Eric, I'm looking at this from a total different standpoint. Remember, I just got over that little political stunt of bullcrap where they paid my ex to press charges against me that weren't true. 2 years of my family being drawn through the mud for political gain. 2 years. Social media blasts everywhere. 2 years. Even members of my church. No. I know how it feels to be on the other end of that little political stunt where someone's looking to gain something by scandalizing your reputation.
Right, but what I'm going to say to you,
wait a minute, if he did it, yeah, let him burn in hell.
Right, what I'm going to say to you is this, and I put the statistics up. I'll go and find them and put them in a thread again. But I went and did extensive research during the Kavanaugh thing, and I put up the statistics of false accusations. They're minuscule. They're like 2%. Out of all of the sexual assault accusations that are made, we make a big deal. And I'm not saying that you, Vincent, didn't go through hell and your family didn't go through hell, and that some other people who have been falsely accused.
Oh, wait a minute, Eric, for the listeners who don't know, hold on. It wasn't sexual assault. I was accused of second-degree aggravated assault for slapping my child.
Right, whatever the accusations are. Right, that people are not going through hell. But what I'm saying to you is this, that they are minuscule. In particular, I don't know what aggravated assault and other kinds of things are, but I did put the statistics up for sexual assault, and it's 2 to 3% of the total cases where women come forward and say that they were sexually assaulted. Only 2%. And well, I'm not going to qualify by saying only, because I don't want to minimize it, right? Because those people suffered, right? Some of them went to jail, and their families were dragged through the mud. So I don't want to minimize it by saying only. But I want you to keep it in perspective. 2%, 2 to 3% of those cases were false. The other 97% were true. So
okay, of those 97%, you got to look at how many were trials and how many were just pleas.
Right, we can look into all of that data, and I would challenge everybody to do that. Right, but don't just, what I'm getting at again is let us not fall victim, right, to the conditioning which says that we should retreat to our red or blue corners because we want to fulfill somebody else's agenda at the expense of somebody's, livelihood. So, anyway, I love you all. I just wanted to get that out there because I'm watching it and it's going to unfold, right? More stuff is going to come out and you'll see how both stations, if you have the ability to split your screen and watch them both, you'll see what they're both doing. One is protecting over here and attacking, and the other one is protecting over here and attacking. But both of them are reluctant to giving you just the straight truth. So listen, I put down Diane, and what made me do it was I was watching a feed earlier today, and a gentleman posted, why do black women, after being mistreated and disrespected, why do they continue to go to Chinese establishments for their nails and their pedicures and things like that, right? And then I said, because they lack self-respect. Like anybody who goes to any establishment and are constantly disrespected, or they feel disrespected, but they continue to go and spend their money, they don't have any personal self-respect. I said, but let us not focus just on black women. Why do we as a black community tolerate businesses? Now here, because of the age of COVID-19, I'm talking about Chinese businesses, and I'll tell you why I'm talking about Chinese businesses in particular. But why do we tolerate the Poppy store or any other store in our community that constantly disrespects us? And the reason I honed in as what is the future of Chinese businesses in the black community during the age of COVID-19 is because if you drive around, your favorite Chinese restaurant is closed right now. They're gone. Where'd they go? Why'd they go?
They all had a meeting. They all had one master meeting because they work collectively together, whether they like each other personally or not. Their bottom line is to make money. They had a meeting, and the meeting was to shut down to protect themselves, not to continue to provide for a community and take our money, because they will always come back and do that again, because we will allow them to come back and do it.
And now I want you to understand, I'm not Chinese bashing here. We're not Chinese bashing here. We're just trying to understand. Right.
This is any culture. Mm-hmm. This is anybody who comes into our community, and we continue to give them financial support by buying their products and services instead of starting our own businesses. And we continue to go back and take the humiliation of them following us around the stores, videotaping us, being belligerent and disrespectful to us, and still purchasing our products. Some of it is because we have no options and there's nowhere else to go. That's what we tell ourselves. There are no options. We use convenience as a reason to why we do it. Personally, it's less expensive because our own people are selling the prices higher. So we go there because it's cheaper. So there's a random myriad of reasons as to why we use excuses to favor other people's businesses than our own. And then when we favor our own, we're very quick to talk about how bad the service was there, how we'll never go there again, and how we'll blast them on social media. But
how dirty the store is,
how dirty it was, all of that. But I very rarely ever see people talk about how bad the service was, even though they know the service they received was bad at another nationality's restaurant or business.
Well, we don't, as a people, we don't support black businesses. The black dollar recycles or circulates in the black community 3 times. That's it. We'll go to 3 black stores. In the Jewish community, their dollar circulates in their community 14 times before it leaves. We don't support black businesses. We talk about their prices, and the reason their prices are so high is because they don't use collective bargaining power, where these agent stores, the nail salons, they all get together, they buy a bulk of supplies from one particular group, and they spread the cost amongst each other. That's how they have cheaper prices for their products.
So on that, let me tell you, I just had a conversation with a hairstylist yesterday, because the day before that we were talking about how to pivot with as a hairstylist and stuff. So this particular hairstylist was talking about some of the things. I was telling her about some of the things we were discussing, and she was stating that some of the issues about even moving into doing products and stuff like that is when she went to a meeting, and she's located in Elizabeth, when she went to a community meeting for the chamber, business chamber, as well as the cosmetology directors were at this meeting, and they discussed, and we discussed this before, Eric, months ago, about how Africans were coming in and they were doing hair, and they didn't have licensing. And she stated when she went to that meeting, it might have been 3 Black Americans, and the room was full of Hispanic and Latino people who are in Dominicans, who have these Dominican doobie shops. Now, this meeting was held back in November, she said. In November, they did a sweep in Elizabeth of shutting down doobie shops for people who did not have licenses that were doing cosmetology type work past just washing your hair, but they were doing colors and using chemicals and stuff like that. So they did a big sweep. And when I was talking to her yesterday, I was telling her, I said, if you got together with all the other Black American hairstylists and collectively went to the board and said, this is what you want and how you want it to reflect and look for your type of business, you can make a change. I said, the Africans did the same thing. She said she sat on that meeting that they eventually approved for the Africans to get their licensing, for them to only have to complete 100 hours. 100 hours. Wow. She said they have to go through, of course, hygiene and a couple of three other things that she mentioned, while everyone else has to complete 1,500 hours to get a cosmetology license. Wow. Barbers, she stated, have to complete 900 hours because they do a little less than a typical hairstylist, but they have to also take those classes regarding chemicals and stuff like that, because they're now using chemicals and colors and stuff like that. But just like you said, we are not collectively working together. We're not doing it. We're not doing it. And this is why we get the short end of the stick every single time. Every single time in every industry. In every industry. I can tell you in my industry, in the insurance industry, there's very few Black American brokers. I have reached out, and especially female brokers. I have reached out. They don't want to do business. They don't not even just do business. They don't want to collectively have a group to discuss stuff, because in their mind, they are still thinking there is not enough business for everybody, and you'll steal my business. Right. They don't have the the thinking of what businesses have, and we've talked about this before, Eric, about the burger, a simple burger. Burger King, McDonald's, White Castle, Wendy's. All of them you can always see in every town when you go around. Those various 3 of them, a combination of 2, across the street, next door to each other. Why? Because everybody wants their burger different. Right. And they're all still making money.
Well, you know what? So here's one of the things, and Vincent, I want you to go in a second. Here's one of the things that I look at when we do this show every day. It is an information show for certain, but it's also a social experiment, guys. Because we talk one thing, but we do something completely different. And, Diane, I decided that out of all of the other ads that, show up at the top of this thing, that I'm just going to keep yours running. And I wonder, you don't have to answer the question, but everybody who's tuned into this show needs some kind of insurance, or, homeowners insurance, renters insurance. They need life insurance. They need auto insurance. I wonder how many folks who watch this show on and off have either called you, gone to you, referred people to you to try to help build your business. And so when you don't have to answer it, and you guys in the thread, I don't necessarily.
Are you sure?
I don't need you
You
going
sure?
into the thread and
'Cause I can tell
commenting.
you.
But what I'm getting at is this: we talk a game about supporting black businesses and how we need to do X, Y, and Z. And my question is, how much of your money, just in your insurance money, is not going to black insurance brokers? Diane's been here with us for about 2 years, giving of her time 2 hours a day, share information, make herself available. See, it's a social experiment for me, right? Because we talk shit, but we don't really do, right? And that's and I want to try to get people to do, or just shut up. Go ahead, Diane.
There you go. Well, here's the question for you: how many black businesses besides the cosmetology industry? How many black businesses do you purposely network with or do business with?
Me, landscaping, daycare workers, contractors, meaning plumbers, electricians. I also have some heavy industry type contractors that clean those steam shafts that you see out on in Elizabeth. What other types? Medical, doctors, physicians, attorneys, real estate.
Right. Now, why is that?
Mortgages.
Now you're way up. You are about 10 times above the curve of 3 times. Why is that?
Why is what? Why is
why? Yes. Why do you? Yes. Why?
Why do I deal with them, or why do I do business with them? What's your question? What's that?
Why do you do business with so many blacks?
Why? Because I make that my priority. For one, because I want to see us do better, and me doing better helps them do better, which helps their clients do better, because a lot of our clients look like us.
Amen. Now, if everybody had that mindset, the black condition would be reduced by at least 47%, maybe 50%. The problem that we have in the black in the black community in terms of economics is that our economic power has to start with each other. It's the same problem that we have in somebody starting a business and trying to get business from your family and friends. We tend to hinder our own while supporting others. Now, one of the big reasons that I shop a lot of black businesses and look for black businesses, with just about everything I do, is for the same reason that Diane does. And I'm an entrepreneur myself. As I support them, that networking becomes synergy. They support me as well. That's how we build to power. But we spend our time not going to black businesses because we're afraid that they're going to make it and they're going to leave us behind.
Yeah.
Or just jealous that they're doing something that we have in our mindset to do, but not the bravery and intentional fortitude to step out and do it themselves. Or the simple fact that
it's funny that you say that, Vincent. I was talking to my daughter yesterday, and I was telling her, I said, you know what? I'm going to stop not referring business, but I'm going to stop giving people ideas and stuff for their business, because people never give it back to me. I said, it's draining sometimes. I said, people always see me as a resource. They'll come to me, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? And I'll just shoot them off ideas and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And my daughter said, no, you're not. I said, why not? She said, because you're a resource person, and that's your purpose. So your purpose is just who you are, and you can't change that.
And she's right, Diane, because you're a brilliant, beautiful, intelligent woman, and you have a level of creativity and understanding that is well above the curve. When you do that, you become a disservice to the black community. You bring us down instead of building us up. And yeah, I know it's frustrating because I get a lot of calls too, and a lot of people, referring. And you know what? It may not come back to me monetarily as much as it comes back to me with a sense and swell of pride that, this person's doing well. Great. My ideal is working for him. Great. I'm on point. Mm-hmm. Great. Move on and pass that forward.
So
pay that forward.
So with regard to Chinese businesses,
mm-hmm.
what I would have loved to have seen, as opposed to them all, however they communicated with each other, to sync and be in sync in closing, I would have loved for them to, given how much money they've pulled out of the community, right, to partner with the black community in helping in areas that they could. So we see food banks and we see other kinds of things working to help folks who are dealing with food insecurities. You don't see any of those businesses stepping forward and saying, how can we be helpful right now? How can we be helpful to you right now? We and I think that we need to consider that. I think I mentioned this to you guys a while ago. In the communities that I raised my children in, what made those communities work really well were that the small businesses in those communities were a part of the community. Right? They supported the little league teams. They supported the t-ball team. They supported they supported the local Boy Scouts and Girl Scout stuff. They were a part. I mean, they literally were a part of the fiber of the community. You have these, not just Chinese, but stay on Chinese because they all shut down. The other ones are still there, right? The Arab chicken places and stuff, they haven't gone anywhere. But I think they need to step up too. Maybe some of them have. Tell me if they have, and I'll give them credit for it. But when we look and see folks who are putting these, what they call them, grab and go events together, where they're preparing meals that you can pick up, right? I would love to see, the ambassadors and the Golden Wings and the rest of those places kick in trays of chicken. Right? Because they pull so much from our community. They literally see dozens and dozens and dozens of us come in there and service their businesses. What a wonderful thing it would be for them to have a banner up that says, hey, Golden Wings gives back or Ambassadors gives back. We see that the Chinese people cut and ran. Now, I'm not getting on them. I'm just telling you the truth. They cut and ran. And so when post COVID-19, how is the community going to deal with that? Because I'm telling you, in other communities, even the Chinese restaurants are giving back in those other communities. You go into some of those Chinese restaurants up in Summit, you'll see the pictures of the Little League team. Like you'll see the plaque where the Chinese restaurant contributed some money, and on the back of their shirts it'll say that they sponsored them and helped them get their shirts and helped them get whatever things that they needed. That's a part of a community. But some of these businesses that are in our community have made a conscious effort not to be a part of the community. And again, the ones that we see, and it's glaring, because they shuttered their businesses in the midst of this pandemic and said, screw you, we're gone. Are we just going to let them come back and open up? And are we just going to take our money and just go?
Who's going to stop them?
No, we can't stop them. Listen, we can't stop them from opening up, right? But we cannot patronize them. We can support those who supported us. Right, and then the ones who didn't support say, "Look, I can't support you anymore." When push came to shove, when the rubber hit the road, you left. You left.
Yes, you did.
So I just want my people to think about that.
Yeah. Well, to quote Clyde, he said, "We are conditioned not to trust each other. We are indoctrinated with the same message of white supremacy because we've been living behind enemy lines for over 400 years." Hard to believe. But yeah, and those people who did left, those Chinese businesses that did left, a lot of them packed up out of fear. You got Donald Trump who's going around calling this the Chinese flu. And if you look at, since he made that statement, the assaults against Asian people had went up to a point where they had to go back to him and tell him to backtrack that statement. Yeah, a lot of them left out of fear. But then you look at, why would they stay in a community where they're afraid? Would you do it?
No. So listen, this is what I want to say to you. Think about this. So I don't know where else they left because they were afraid. If you got a Chinese restaurant, well, let me back up. And I haven't done this, but I'm gonna go maybe after the show, and I'll report back on Monday. I'm gonna drive through Summit. I'm going to go through Westfield, right? I'm going to go through Scotch Plains. I'm going to go up in my old neck of the woods, Berkeley Heights, and I'm going to see if those Chinese restaurants are open, right? I'm going to see if they left. Because if what I suspect is true, which is that they left the black community, they fear us?
No, I'm reading a feed from my web tech, and she's Chinese, and her parents own a Chinese store. And she said my parents shut down because they're in a predominantly white community. They don't have Uber Eats. And when the president pointed out that it was the Chinese flu, people came in and started harassing them.
And what community is this? Where is this?
Would you believe she's in Malton? And this is an affluent white community.
Right. So
this is a middle to upper middle class white community.
Yeah, I want to go. Like I said, I'm gonna go and check it out. And I don't know. Maybe black folks in Newark and East Orange, Irvington, right? Maybe they would have gone in and harassed the folks, or maybe they would have just gone in and got their chicken and left, or got their fried rice and egg foo young, whatever they eat, and left. I don't know. But what I like
with brown sauce.
Huh? With what?
Shrimp and broccoli with brown sauce. If I could figure out what that brown sauce is, I'm making it at home because I've made the shrimp and broccoli myself so far.
And you don't know what the
so I may not go back to them after this anyway. I was never really beef on them.
But mine is pork egg foo young.
Oof.
Pork egg foo young. Hey, listen, you got a pork
What's
problem right
young?
now.
What's that? Is that noodles?
No, it's actually chopped up pork and an egg fried with vegetables and flipped over, and then that brown sauce over top.
That brown.
Yeah, see that brown sauce.
Can anybody in the thread tell us what the brown sauce is?
What's in that brown sauce? Ask her what's the recipe of that brown sauce.
I'm about to find out because I need to make that brown sauce too.
Well, listen, maybe now some brothers...
I'll make that brown sauce. It's over. I'll never go to another Chinese restaurant.
Maybe they just bottled the brown sauce, right? I don't know.
I don't know that.
Yeah.
But what I would have
brown
loved to have
sauce
seen,
looking Kajal don't look so good, but okay.
but maybe what they could have done again is let's take if you had within a community a Chinese restaurant that's been there for 10 years, 15 years, and they know the people because the people live in that community, patronize that business. If they just held like a community meeting and say, hey, listen, we're all in this thing together. We like to stay and continue to patronize. What can we do to help? And I am convinced that if they would have put a foot forward to say, how can we help? How can we help? Maybe during this time, I'm not going to say lower prices, but just make contributions to food sources where people were trying to get food. And I really believe that if the community realized that they were pitching in as much as they take out, put forth the effort, then they would have been supportive of them. Call or go.
Hey, Eric, I just wanted to say you're dead right about the closings of the Asian. I'm not even going to say Chinese, but the Asian businesses. They're in the in the hood. They're not in the suburban areas. Suburban areas, all the Asian restaurants, whether it's Japanese, Chinese, Korean, Thai, whatever, they're all still open. They're all still open, operating, doing normal everyday business. Right? And the funny thing about that for me is that I don't believe that the inner city or the hood, whatever you want to call it, is where the violent issues or the the bias issues were happening to the Asians. If anything, I would think that it was probably because when you're listening to people say, well, Trump is encouraging people by the things that he says, it ain't black folks listening to Trump talking about we gonna run out and beat up those Chinese people. That's white people. So, and they're not doing that in the hood. So they must be doing it in other types of communities, their communities.
So the question I want to ask you, Vincent, is the community that you mentioned, is it Republican?
I don't. Well, let me put it to you this way: it's a lot of white, upper middle to upper class. We're talking about a a large percentage of, million to 1.7 million to
Republican.
back
Okay. That's a
$1 million
long way of saying
homes.
Republican.
So I'd say there's a strong Republican.
Right. So I agree with you then, Farrakhan, that if you go into and so I could understand that. I could understand if there's real fear, if they recognize that through other things that the president has said, he has stoked this xenophobia, this racism, that he has done that, and they have been the brunt of it, or they may have seen other communities, right? So you may have Asians who saw Middle Eastern folks go through it when Donald Trump did his thing there, right? And they said, you know what? We saw what happened over here. We don't want to be a part of that. We're shuttering our businesses to get out of town. Got it. But in the hood, that wasn't happening, right? We weren't turning our backs on the Arab businesses. We weren't doing that. And so, got to ask yourself again, why'd you run? Why'd you leave us? You took our money. Right? And now you shut your businesses.
Okay, let's look at why they run and
They
why
probably shut their, I would think that they shut their business because they knew that this was going to be the urban areas was going to be the area most hardest hit by this disease.
But what does that?
That's why I would.
Oh, you mean in terms of them not contracting?
For personal safety. I mean, I'm not going to say that the violence issue. I don't even think that was it. I think that they knew and that they could afford to be like, you know what? While this is going down, let's just get out of town.
Yeah.
That's what I think. Right? I think that's more of the reality. No, black folks was not running up punching Chinese people in the face. They was not doing that. Right? Ain't nobody going to even convince me that that's what black people do when they hear there's a Chinese disease. Ain't nobody doing it. Matter of fact, black folks still looking for their chicken wings and fries.
Yeah.
Right? Let's keep it real. Right? You know what I'm saying? I want some chicken and broccoli right now. I got to make it myself.
Just thinking about it making me hungry.
There you go. So I know it's not black folks, right? If they had the heads up, and because they understood it from their own homeland, the disease, that they knew that when it hits, I know where it's hitting, so let me get out of here.
Okay. Now to answer that question, Eric, why do black people to this day still not trust doctors?
Why don't they trust hospitals?
The Miss Everett boys.
Right.
Yes. And today, Asians don't trust the government because of World War II. When they took all their money, when they were living in the United States, they took all their money and put them in camps.
But that doesn't bear out to what Farrakhan is saying, which is, and that's why I said I'm going to go into some affluent areas here in North Jersey. There is no Central Jersey, right? There's South and North. But I'm going to go
into
Central
Jersey. Middlesex County.
I don't want to have that argument.
Yeah.
There is no Central Jersey.
They consider themselves Central Jersey. But anyway, go ahead.
Backwards. Anyway, it's the North and the South. But I'm going to go into these communities, and I'm going to see if the Asian stores are open, because if they are, then the idea of saying, well, they don't trust the government, so then my question would be, well, why was there such a coordinated effort within the urban community to shut down, but when that memo went out to the suburban communities, those folks said we're staying open?
Well, because of the way they feel about them, or because of the simple fact that they're getting some attacks or aggression, or some white privileged person thought it would be nice to tell them to go back home with their flu.
So,
but that doesn't happen that does happen in the black communities too, because ignorance is not exclusively to one particular race, but maybe they feel more comfortable in one area and can keep their establishment open than they can in the other. There are a lot of variables of why they're closing, but I do know, when talking to my web tech, she said it was definitely fear.
Okay. So listen, I posted, and I can't find it right now, And Diane, you said we forgot to talk about it yesterday. Vincent, what are the news networks that you trust and rely on to give you your information?
Let's see, the Washington Post, the New York Times, CNN, MSNBC, but only certain people, like Rachel Maddow, she gives it to you straight and breaks it down. Let's see, I don't trust the BBC because they're pro-Trump, so we always get that day and night spin, and certain reporters on NPR.
Okay. And Diane, who do you listen to?
NPR, Politico. What is it? Not Politico. What do you call it? This is Politico, right?
Mm-hmm.
Politico. Politico, Channel 7, ABC News. What else do I listen to? CNN. Those for the most part. MSNBC occasionally. I post a lot of stuff. Gyro. I'm kind of on and off with them sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Other news, I'm just listening because I have them right here in front of me. BBC News I listen to. Newsweek, Time, for the most part. TMZ if I want the gossip, and People Magazine for the gossip. Ebony and Essence still. What's left of them. Washington Post, New York Times, and Cosmopolitan because they actually have great articles in there. And there's another one. And Vanity Fair, they have great articles and research reporters in there as well. I was also told that Playboy Magazine actually has great news articles in there, but I haven't ventured out to check that out.
So
but I don't know if that still holds true, that type of magazines.
So Wednesday I posted that question, and I'm going to give you some of the answers that I got. People said MSNBC. Another person said can't trust any of them 100%. Somebody said the Star Ledger. TMZ always has the inside scoop. Somebody else says, somebody said my grandma. Hey, listen, grandma can't go wrong. Somebody else says ABC, CNN, and Jesus Christ.
That's the raw story.
Wait a minute. Hello, caller. Let me finish getting through this list. Somebody else says PBS. We've got OAN, which I like. Let's see, what else do we have? A bunch of people say can't trust any of the media. Everything is false. We got C-SPAN as one. BBC, Axios. I like Axios. NPR. I listen to NPR. At The Atlantic.
I like The Atlantic too. They have great articles.
I like The Atlantic, yeah.
Okay. And so this is what Ron Rice says, because Ron C. Rice, former councilman of the West Ward in the city of Newark, he elaborated a bit. He said BBC, Axios, NPR, C-SPAN, The Atlantic, and news sources that use primary sourcing and is explicitly not opinion related. People do not know the difference between information outlets that have opinion and news reporting, so social media treats them the same. So I think it's important to understand what's news sourcing, what's opinion, right?
Right. I don't read opinion. I mean, I do read some opinions, but I don't take. I base it just on opinion. In the feed, they say Democracy Now!, Dr. Boyce Watkins, Highwire, Black Truth, Black Authority, WNYC, Raw Story, Color of Change, Azera, AJAZZER.
Al
Jazeera.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What else? Let me see. They're still coming through.
Right. Reuters is another one. CNN is another one that people listen to. And locally, somebody put Tappan 2. And so, Barron's, Bloomberg, Financial
Reports, yeah,
Brookings, right? So So, and the reason I'm at, TYT, listen, the Young Turks, absolutely.
Yeah, I listen to them too.
And
Yeah.
so, and the reason I ask this, guys, is this, and please keep putting them in here, because when we're having these discussions, right, when we gather at 10 o'clock, we have read whatever that this information is, and we're bringing that to bear on the conversation. So sometimes if we're crossing each other in our conversation, it's because somebody read this over here and somebody read this thing over here. Right. And so what I'd like to do is now you get to see what some of the other listeners and viewers of the show read and what's driving their opinion and thought.
That's
and so
right.
if you step outside of your comfort zone now and read what some of them are reading, you'll get an understanding of, and I'm not saying that you'll agree with them necessarily, but you'll have an understanding of why they arrived at that. And it may help further, some discussions and get to some resolution on some critical issues that impact our community. So I thought that this was a great exercise to do.
Yeah. And even with that, when I see an article somewhere, I even go back and Google the article title just so I can see what other news sources are covering it and to see what information that they're putting out. Because I know when you put out a press release, each reporter gets the same press release, but each reporter doesn't do additional investigative reporting. They may just rewrite the press release, and others may take the press release as a beginning and do more investigative reporting and add more onto the meat, to add more into the meat, rather, because otherwise you're reading the same article over and over and over again. But so that's why I compare to get more information, to get more detail.
That's why I don't read too many APIs or Associated Press, because it's always the same story. But when I do see stuff, especially stuff online, I check the source from where they got it from, and then research that with what's current and coming from a reliable media. Then you can gain an accurate conclusion of what's fake and what's true.
Sure. We got a caller.
Also, they said, go ahead.
Go ahead, caller.
No, I just wanted to say, I think what you guys just said is dead on. You have to get it from multiple sources. Like in my case, what I tend to do is I listen or I'll read from 3 or 4 different sources, and then I'll try not to form any opinion on any one or belief in any one, and then I look for the common thread. Right? There's always something in each of those articles, each of those presentations that are common. And once you see if you read 4 things and then you find 2 or 3 things out of the 4 separate articles that are similar, that's where I sort of take the news. That's what I believe is the fact. And it takes away all that extra that they put. Because I don't care, unless you're listening to API or NPR, Reuters, they're all giving stories to their articles, as opposed to just giving the news, the facts. Some people don't like it. I like BBC World News. I really think that it actually just reports a situation. It doesn't tell you how it feels about the situation. And I was calling because I had to clown Vincent. Could you just tell me that Rachel Maddow gives it straight and not with a left hook curve? She gives a left hook, right hook, something. I don't know. There is nothing straight about Rachel Maddow's news, bro.
In my opinion, Rachel Maddow, she breaks them down.
Yeah, she breaks it down to the left, bro. I don't know, or to the right, whatever direction she wants to do. Wherever she's giving it to you straight, bro.
You know what's funny about this conversation is, even if you change the topic and you go into sports, I like to watch Brian Gumbel when he used to do those news reports on the background stories on HBO and stuff like that. It's just certain people you go to, real sports, that you go to for certain information that you know is more credible than other people. And I think that's why we have to compare information, because every single reporter can report the same tragedy, but somebody's going to report it with a twist, and more of them going to give more information and more truth to it than other people will give the illusion of something that happened. And I think that's what happens when they cover the White House press. You always get these different point of views from the reporter. They're sitting in the same room hearing the same thing, but there's a twist in how they say it.
Wait a minute. Let me ask you this question.
Well,
I want to
the
ask you
big twist comes in with what they're saying in the White House press, and I know a couple of White House press reporters, is they get their tips from their inside sources. You know, people who are close, people who are working as, you know, aides and so forth, people who have privileged information that verifies a lot of the story.
Here's the question that I want to ask you guys, and just think about it honestly, right? And it kind of gets back to our social conditioning and whether or not we really are free thinkers. How many people watch the news just to get confirmation on a position that they have already taken, right? So you just want verification. You've already convinced yourself that this person is a scoundrel, or that person is lying, or this person's whatever. So now you'll flip around. So somebody's giving you some information, right? But you're pushing that information aside because all you want is more confirmation of what you've already believed, as opposed to being objective and always being open to pivot if the information that you're receiving now differs from what your stance is.
Correct.
Right? And that's why I have all these different
guys, before I hang up, can I throw a little conspiracy theory into the
Oh God! If you
hold up, wait a minute. I gotta ask you a question. Did you call me a clown earlier?
No, I said I have to clown you.
Oh, okay.
I got to clown you about it.
Okay.
But
no, that's just me clowning you now.
Oh, that's all right. we can handle it.
We can handle it. Yeah.
But what I was going to ask is, I put up a post because I had saw it, and it's apparently the tweet was true. Of a guy, one of the Fox News representatives at the presidential press conference before it started, there was a hot mic, and the guy says to the other guy, "Oh, you can take your mask off. This whole virus thing is like virtually a hoax, and that don't have to worry about it anyway because everybody in here has been vaccinated." I shared it, and apparently I don't see any news media or Fox News saying that this is fake. This is a live hot mic that somebody had, and it's I forget the guy. He's popular on Fox News, and he's telling another guy who's there who has a face mask on, "Hey, Dave, you can take your face mask off, man. It's all a hoax. This is less than that. This corona situation is actually less than the flu. And by the way, we all got our vaccinations anyway." He literally says that. But it's on my Facebook page. You can see, and it's not. I've looked to see if anything was arguing it, or if Fox News made an official statement against it, saying like, "No, this is some audio editing or something to that effect." Apparently, he said this to this man. Said that the numbers make it a hoax, that way too many people have it to be deadly, to the level in which they're trying to imply, and that, hey, everybody in this got been vaccinated anyway. And then you wonder why the vice president a couple of days later is walking around the Mayo Clinic being the only person without a mask.
Do you think it was factual, or do you think that it was just him being flippant?
It couldn't have been him being flippant. Right now, they tried to say, now one person, based on the tweet, tried to say he might have been joking about the vaccination part, but he wasn't joking about the deadliness or the lack of deadliness of the disease.
See, and I feel passionate about that. I think guys who spread that, who put people believe it and not understand that he's being flippant or,
Right, and that's what I would have thought. But here's the thing. If he's being flippant, then you would think, well, he had on a mask too, but he didn't have on a mask.
Right.
So he ain't being and he's confident enough to tell somebody not to do it, and he's not wearing one. What's the guy?
Right. See, yeah. Well, look, he needs to kill himself and stop saying things that's going to get other people killed and then believing him.
But then how do you argue that and then you look at everybody on the stage without a mask? You can't. All the people in the know, all the important people of the country, they're not worried about it. They're not doing those protections. So then you got to wonder, hold up. Why are the most influential or powerful people of this country not protecting themselves from this disease?
Right.
Well,
Like I've never seen Dr. Fauci
How
wear a
many
mask.
people have we been told that Donald Trump and Mike Pence have come in contact with that were infected with this disease?
Well, but wait, so to your
Yeah,
point,
we still haven't seen them get it. Like, how many times do you think you can be in a room with a person with coronavirus, just being you, Eric Dawson, or just being you, Vincent Squire, or Diane L. Murray Clemens, and not get it?
Well,
it's not the fact that
has done it 5 times.
Well, not the fact of not getting it. We're running into a situation where we meet people who are asymptomatic. They may have it, but they don't show signs of it. So they become a bigger spreader of the disease.
So the most important people in the country are the people that are just happen to be the asymptomatic people.
Right.
Well, no, there was an important member.
Like I said, today I'm just throwing some conspiracy. Change up the Bible and show a little bit.
What kills the conspiracy is the simple fact that we've had all of these senators and congressmen that came up with the disease who are in contact.
Right. So would you
And they're
say
all fine.
that if you had
We ain't had
Dr.
one die yet.
Fauci wearing a
But
mask,
I always say this about Congress, right? Right? Why is
Can they
it
hear
that
me, Diane?
virtually nobody dies in Congress from cancer? Like in the last 30 years, there's been like 4. You know,
Well, maybe
out
they
of
don't.
500. No, listen. Out of 500 people, right? Now, if you take any sampling of 500 Americans, what is the percentage of cancer death? Because you're not going to tell me that these senators and congressmen eat better, live better.
No.
They don't. They just have a better form of health care.
But what you can
Because they
say
have
is they
that better
have
form of
better
health
access.
care.
But what they
Both
do
Bill
have is
Clinton-
access to disclosure. And sometimes their access means that they don't have to disclose what factually happens to them because they may feel that that is a weakness if they state this is what's going on.
Okay.
No, that may be
I
true.
just Googled list of Congress and senators who died from cancer in the last 5 years, and there are 29 of them.
29? I've only known about 4. Now, you can
I didn't
argue, right? But to my knowledge, I can only think of about 4. Now, there
Well,
might be more.
We'll keep going. There's more than 4.
Okay. But even that, 5 years out of, it's going to be more than 500 or 600
In
people.
the last 5 years, brother.
Right. So okay, but think about that. Still, in the last 5 years, 20
Oh, and
people
the
out of
political was the
500 at a
news source
time.
that I used.
No, I believe, I'm not questioning it. Right? But I'm still going to say that's still an extremely low percentage.
Okay.
That is an extremely low percentage. That
Okay.
any sampling of 500 Americans, okay, in any career in anything, you're going to get a higher percentage of that.
well, so I'm going to read this.
The one
so
thing we
here-
know
here
is
are the numbers
that
that
the
I-
healthcare
here are the numbers that I.
Okay, and
here are
since
the-
2000
Wait.
Oh, go ahead.
Here are the numbers that I have. It says approximately 38.4% of men and women will be diagnosed with cancer at some point during their lifetime, right? Based on this study. This is coming out of the National Cancer Institute. So so I don't know.
So 26 out of
Well, but this is
500.
saying will be diagnosed. It doesnn't say what percentage died. I haven't been able to find that yet. I've been looking too, but it says they have been diagnosed. So out of the ones that Vincent said have died, I mean, I don't know how many have cancer.
I got you.
You see, and have it now. I don't know what that number is. And our senators.
Well, most of them do publicize that though for whatever reason, right? Like they put out there.
No. Well, I mean, their medical records is a matter.
It depends on
It's
election.
public. Yeah.
Election
Yeah.
time, it
Right,
depends
that's
on
what I'm saying. Like
what
we find
they're
that out.
doing. Yeah.
So
At some point,
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm not debating it. I'm just saying like we know that Congress has a better level of health care
Sure
than
they do.
the average American.
Sure
right?
they do.
And
So,
we also know
And
that
you-
they're
but
going to have some advantages that other people won't have.
Well,
We agree.
But the
when I
other
listen
piece
to
of
a
this,
guy,
but the other piece of this, Farrakhan, that you have to take into consideration when you're talking about the number of deaths, a lot of cancer patients or could have survived had it been diagnosed early enough, right? And so information is important. education is important, and healthcare is important. So when we talk about the folks who are in Congress, well, they're more highly educated than the average American, right? They have more information than the average American, and they have better health care than the average American. And so with respect to those three categories, it gives them a better fighting chance if diagnosed with cancer.
Well, like our City Hall would say,
So here's the thing, to answer
That's
your
all
one.
I'm saying. This is 5 times 10 minutes of conspiracy theory on the show. That's all. I'm just messing with y'all.
Thank you.
Because just to break it up and give it a different tone for the day.
Appreciate
I just find it
so
like,
Farrakhan, you sound like you ready for. You sound like you ready for some pop culture.
Go ahead, Diane. What you got?
We gotta have some. Throw it for Diane. That's you. The ball is in your court. Go ahead.
So here goes some pop culture. So all of you that love.
Hold on. Let's do your introduction. And now the queen of pop culture, Diane Murray.
Clemens. Gotta add that.
We gotta add that. Don't want no fights up in here. So if you love Basketball Wives, then you should know Jennifer Williams, who hails from the great state of New Jersey, went from South Orange, New Jersey, and went to South Orange High School, graduated from there. Is now in a dispute with an ex-boyfriend who she claims she gave her car to while she transitioned from moving from California to Atlanta because she didn't have anywhere to put her second car, her Range Rover, and is now claiming that he stole her car and would not get it back to him. And then uncovering that his real name is really not what he told her, and that he's a con artist and has done this to several other women, and men has done the same thing as well.
So wait a minute. Break this down. He's a wait a minute. Say go one more time, Diane.
Yep. Jennifer Williams, Basketball Wives. She was married to, what was his name? Was it Eric Williams? Was his name? And they got a divorce
I know Eric.
Yes. On Basketball Wives.
Uh-huh.
There was a big fallout. She's still coming back and forth from Basketball Wives. Just got a new contract, dating this new guy. There's been a falling out. She claims she gave him her Range Rover for him to put up for her while she was traveling and moving from California to Atlanta. When she got there, she claimed he would never give her truck back. She claims that he forged her signature on a title, retitled the car in her name. She's filed a police report. She's since been on the Breakfast Club. Another woman has come out to co-sign what Jennifer said saying that it happened to her as well. Come to find out that it's also happened to a multitude of other women and men that he has conned out of various different business deals, money. When she did this, then he released her text messages to him trying to throw Shaquille O'Neal's wife, Shawnee, under the bus, as well as Evelyn Lozada, who is another basketball wife and a baseball wife, because she was married to, I forget El Cinco, who they stayed married maybe 2 months or something like that, because she claimed there was abuse and all of that, and he head-bunted her and stuff. So he's now throwing all of her business out there from the text messages, but she's saying she's not even addressing that. She's simply saying he stole my stuff. He's a con artist. That's where we're at today.
Wow.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
So
you said you know who, Eric?
Oh, Eric Williams.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But look, when you are a high-profile person, and don't even have to be a high-profile person, right? But certainly, you are a bigger catch. What do they call it? A whale, right?
Yeah.
I'm not talking about her size. I'm talking about the size of a wallet, right?
Yeah.
But you are a whale to them, and they really, try to get you on the hook. And you just have to be aware of the various cons. And certainly if you have Range Rovers and Porsches and BMWs and all those kinds of things, big fancy houses and rings and pearl necklaces, then you're on somebody's radar, better believe. And they're trying to figure out how to get some of what you got. And it seems that he got his hooks not only into her, but into other people like that. I hope she gets her stuff back, and I hope those other people get retribution.
Yeah. That's about
and
it.
you know, and in the end, he may wind up getting his ass kicked too. I'm just saying.
If I go Jay-Z,
Not
more
that
money, more problems.
Like, not that I'm condoning it or not that I'm suggesting it. I'm just saying that may just be a fact of life. Because I know if that was my sister, right? Like, I remember, and this was, you know, it wasn't even about a Range Rover and stuff. Remember Rickles that used to be on 22?
Yeah. Rickles helps you do it better.
Do it better with Rickles.
Now, when Rickles used to be there, I remember, and do you remember this, Con? So there was a guy, it was one real hot day, like 96 degrees, and everybody was trying to get an air conditioner, and people were out of air conditioners, and we had gone there with my sister to get an air conditioner from Rickles. So as we pull up, a guy comes up and he says, hey, listen, I got these air conditioners, and, you know, they're like $20. They fell off the back of a truck. And I'm like, oh, man, give us an air conditioner. So the guy said, pull around the corner and whatever, right? So we pull around the corner. He said, open your trunk. So he puts a box in there, right? Hands us the box. The box is sealed up and everything, and it's heavy and whatever, right? So we get the box, put the thing in, give him money. I think she got 2 of them. And we got ready to drive off, and somebody opened the trunk, opened the thing, and there was cinder blocks in the box. Remember that? Right?
Yes.
Well, see, because homie didn't realize that we didn't come from like Mountainside, which was west of Rickles. We came from Newark, which was east of Rickles, right? So we already understood what this scam was, right? So I wonder if the statute of limitations has expired if I continue telling this story.
I'm sure it has.
All right. So suffice it to say, we exacted our cash back, but then we took interest out in his hide. Yeah. So like I said, you know.
Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah.
I know. I used to work downtown Newark for the state, and we were located in 50 Park Place, and we had a coworker, Louise, and I don't know if she's still there, retired or whatever, but Louise bought a VCR off of Broad Street from somebody on lunch break, and Louise came back. And she was an older white woman, and she came back. Oh, I got to put this VCR. We're like, open it up, let me see. And we're like, you ain't get no VCR for $50 off the street. Like, you know, at that time they were like $300-$400. She opened up the thing. It was newspapers from the Star Ledger and 2 bricks on the side.
There you go. There you go.
So here's another thing for pop culture. So Pastor Tony Spell is raking in people's stimulus money and plans to have another Sunday service. So the infamous leader of the Life Tabernacle Church in Louisiana tells TMZ he's initiating a stimulus challenge, which began with 205 people who have given at least a portion of their stimulus checks to his church. He told this that it includes parishioners as well as outsiders who don't belong to Life Tabernacle, and he would not reveal how much cash he's hauled in from these folks. He did the math out of curiosity, though. If each donor gave the typical 10% in tithes, a maximum of $1,200, which would that's $24,600 for Tony. Granted, it would be less or a lot more. He seems to be encouraging donors to to give their full checks, as he claims he did. He reported that their stimulus dough away is all evangelists who can't pass the offering plate during the pandemic shutdowns. Of course, this doesn't really apply to Spell, Tori, who is the pastor, but because he's not abiding by the governor's stay-at-home order, not only is he still holding services, but he's also taking offerings, but he's also disobeying the judge's order to home confinement due to his recent arrest. So he's taking people's stimulus money. Can you believe it?
Yeah, he said stimulate us.
I think he's stimulating himself.
He said stimulate us, saith the Lord.
That's the Lord. So then there's another thing. There's a Texas company that claims that a robot kills COVID-19 is being used in the hospitals. Now, these two articles, both of these articles, you can take them for what they're worth. They're coming from TMZ. But the Texas company states that the robot can kill the virus. Feds, hospitals, and universities are already buying it, and pro sports could be next. Here's the deal. The San Antonio-based disinfectant services claim they have perfected a $100,000 robot that can zap the deadly virus to death, and it already is being used by the Department of Defense, the Mayo Clinic, and prestigious universities, with more deep pocket clients waiting in the wings. The so-called savior is dubbed the Xenix Light Strike germ zapping robot, and we're told it's already decontaminating workplaces at 10 U.S. military bases, LAPD Skid Row Station, plus campuses at Stanford and USC. Most sports leagues are coming to jump on the bandwagon as well. They state the difference is that pathogens are sustainable to the UV light at different wavelengths. So the robot uses xenon lamp to generate bursts of high intensity, full germicidal spectrum UVC lights, which are more intense than sunlight, to deactivate the viruses, bacteria, and spores.
Hey, can they inject that into your body, under your skin, like Donald Trump said?
Oh, here we go. Oh,
I want light under my skin.
Oh Lord, here we go.
Listen, but you know what? No. On the serious side, right now you have, like it or not, right? An industry was created for people to go to work, to go and sanitize places, right? And so when we talk about AI, artificial intelligence,
casualties doing it.
That's right. And so now artificial intelligence is now once again stepping in the age of COVID-19 and taking jobs.
And taking on jobs.
Right.
So, yep. So Disney is now getting into the mask business, and they're creating character masks to help slow the spread, and they're helping it with charity. So they have Baby Yoda, the Hulk, Mickey Mouse are coming soon. They're selling character face masks to protect kids, slow the coronavirus, and donate to charity.
You know what? So this is one of those cases where you got to watch how much they donate, right? So Disney may donate 2% of the proceeds to charity while raking in the rest of the money, under the auspices of giving back.
So listen to this. So the non-medical reusable cloth mask come in 4 packs for $19.99.
There we go.
And the Mouse House says it's going to donate up to $1 million in proceeds to MedShare, a nonprofit that delivers medical equipment and supplies across the globe.
Right.
Disney will also donate 1 million masks to charity.
Right. So the mask costs what? $19.99
divided by 4 plus the real cost of them making it.
Right. So first they're gonna. So here's a question I would ask Disney: are you making the masks in the U.S. or are you having them made in China? I'm gonna ask that again. Are you see? Come on now. You having them made in China or you having them made in the U.S.? So they're gonna have them made in China because they get bigger margins on the masks, right? So then they'll get the mask made in a sweat house in China that'll cost them 2 cents a mask to make. They're gonna sell them for how much, Diane?
$19.99 for 4.
There we go. So do the math on how much, right? And then they're gonna donate 1 million masks. They're gonna get a lot of free press as a result of doing that, right? Then they're going to donate $1 million, but let's look at what percentage that $1 million represents of their total haul.
Sales, right?
Right. So they're going to be making a lot of money. But one of the things that will come out of it, which is good, I guess, is if John down the street has on a mask with whatever his favorite character is. Maybe, his friend now wants to get a mask, so he prompts mommy and daddy to get a mask for him. And so ultimately it does help slow down the spread. But let's make no mistake, on the business side, it's business
making money.
Disney. They're making money.
So get ready for basketball to start off with their paraphernalia mask and
right,
like
because
that.
now we've confirmed some conspiracy or confirmed the conspiracy theorists. If now people are looking to brand masks, that means that people are going to be wearing masks for a long time.
But you know what? I don't have a problem with that. I think that I call my aunt up, and my aunt is an amazing seamstress, and I said, "Oh, you should get into the mask game." People are now, and you know us, Diane, right? We don't want to coordinate. We don't want to coordinate. And so we're going to want masks that go with our outfits when the economy opens up. Nobody going to want to put on that, that hot outfit that they bought from whatever and put that blue mask on. You're going to want a mask that's going to match your outfit. So imagine
you want some bedazzle.
You want some, you can get the bedazzle. But think about you now being able to take and have the fabric of your suit. So the women, especially professional women going back to work, right? You're going to want something that's going to match. And so if you had seamstress out there now and say, hey, listen, send us your wardrobe, right? And what we'll do is we'll match your wardrobe with complementing masks.
Okay, here we go. Conspiracy theory.
Call me.
Chinese sweatshops are now being arrested for making fake Michael Kors knockoff masks.
There we go. Look, when downtown Newark opens back up, you're going to see the fake Louis Vuitton bag with the fake Louis Vuitton mask.
With the matching keychain.
And the matching keychain. What?
And the belt.
Wait a minute, Diane. Look, and they got the face masks now. The ones that it just has like adhesive that goes around like and you just kind of put it there. You can actually have the trim of that too.
Exactly. So you got the face mask that's clear and the trim that's going to say whatever you want it to say. We're going to have ADOS. So here's the last thing from TMZ. Straight out of Beverly Hills. Well, business is back open, and they said plastic surgery is on. Beverly Hills City Council thinks it's a good idea to open up, so rich people consider to be super essential services such as a neck job. So Beverly Hills Council voted 4-1 Wednesday to resume elective and cosmetic surgeries, allowing plastic surgeons to allowing them to immediately reopen their doors to sleds to rich folks in need of work. 4-1 vote from the City Council of Beverly Hills. So it's essential that I get my nose straightened up and it's not looking so wide, and I get my cheekbones brought in, and when I smile and laugh, you don't see those crow's feet in between. Essential business.
Oh no, an essential business is getting rid of your turkey neck.
Yeah. So Beverly Hills, which has one of the highest COVID-19 infection rates in all of LA County, the vote came down as Governor Gavin Newsom closed all California's beaches to prevent the spread of the virus. So why the immediate need for a nose job? The city passed an ordinance back on March 16th, around the time California closed down, imposing a moratorium on cosmetic and other elective surgeries. The lone dissenter on a city council called the vote extremely irresponsible. The reversal should please lots of famous folks. Remember, Botched. Remember the guy Botched, Terry Dubrell? His wife is on Housewives of Beverly Hills Housewives. Yeah. Told us last month tons of celebs are clamoring for plastic surgery while they are out of the public eye during the outbreak, which means they aren't being seen because you don't see them doing broadcast or anything like that. They can get their surgery and come back like Joan Rivers.
No, you don't want to come back like Joan, man. I was like, is she smiling or not? I can't. What's going on? Hey, Diane, speaking of like the plastic surgery and all that kind of stuff, do you watch Dr. Pimple Popper?
No, my daughter does. I think it's kind of gross. I've seen it a couple of times. It is fascinating to watch, but it's still gross at the same time.
Yo, have you seen it, Vincent?
No, I'm sorry. I kind of limit my mind-numbing television to, maybe 1 or 2 shows a day.
Well, now, what I'll tell you is this. On one hand, it's mindless, but on the other hand, it's informational, right? And I'm being very serious about this because people have like growths and they're not sure what they are, but they just kind of live with them. Like you got this bump and you ask somebody, say, oh yeah, I've had that all my life. What is it? I don't know. Don't hurt. Right? That's what you get people to say. And if you watch Dr. Pimple Popper, you'll find that a lot of the stuff is benign, but occasionally it may actually be cancerous. And you can tell a couple ways, right? Like if it's painful, right? The likelihood is it's cancerous, right? If it has grown in diameter over a short period of time, the chances are it's cancerous. If it's been the same size for a long period of time, chances are it's benign. Now, I'm not a doctor. So don't say, oh, I listened to Eric Dawson radio show. Eric said, I'm telling you what Dr. Pimple Popper said. But you should always get it checked out. But I find it fascinating when they have these massive growths, and then she like cuts it open, and then this huge, disgusting thing comes out. And Amina, if we're watching it and we're eating, I never understood this, but she'll go, Baba, can you turn it off? We're eating. I'm like, yeah, but we're not eating that. Call it.
Yeah, it's gross. Why do you want to look at that? That's like seeing a dead rodent or animal outside and coming home and eating a burger.
Right,
How
but if you go to a slasher movie and you got popcorn and a hot dog or some pretzels,
that's different. Because you know that's fake. This is real. You really seeing the inside, and the cameras are so positioned that you can see all the pus sliding out, and it's discolored, and he's moving through. Oh, it's disgusting.
We got a caller?
Well, a friend of mine had a girlfriend, and that was her fetish.
Yeah, caller, go.
Hey, Eric, I just wanted to say, absolutely mesmerizing. You can't stop watching. Listen, right? You know, because I'm always doing like, the ingrown hairs and stuff. So like, I watch the Pimple Popper, and there's another lady, a young black lady that I watch called the Waxper, right, on YouTube, right? And all she does, like, she does like the waxing, but after the waxing for you ladies and stuff, she's doing like, and she does underarms and all that too, and she does all like the ingrown hairs that women get, so, and like, I have sat and watched it for 2 hours. Like watching ingrown hairs.
What's her show? What's the name of her show? I'm gonna check
it out. It's called The Waxpert. Like, she's on YouTube. It's called The Waxpert.
Put that in the thread, because I'm gonna go and check that out. I'm a binge watch The Waxpert.
She's like the wax whisperer.
And I'm not a pervert or nothing, but like, she's doing bikini lines, and like every now and then, like, she'll be like, "Oops, sorry, you weren't supposed to see that." Like, it's all kinds of stuff going on her YouTube channel. Right?
Yeah, the wax whisperer.
All right, not to devolve too much, but I gotta say this because I've heard conversations about the waxing that women get and how painful it is to get the waxing that they get. And some of the women that I've spoken to said they actually will, before they go to get a waxing, that like the complete get it all waxed off, that they actually take like ibuprofen or Tylenol.
You're taking perks.
Yeah, because of how painful it is. Yo, are you kidding me?
Why wouldn't you think it wouldn't be painful if somebody was ripping your skin out of your pores?
But why do you need to get all of that waxed up in there? I don't get it. You got underwear, you got bikini on, you don't need to do all of that. Anyway, hey, listen, with the last couple minutes, Diane, your daughter mentioned a couple movies that I should be watching. The Sun, I didn't watch it. I fell asleep last night, so I'm going to try to watch that. And then there was another one that she recommended. I have it in my favorites, so I'm going to check that out. But if you guys have any good ones, please put them in the thread. I'd like to, I think I'm going to spend this weekend, I'm going to do my planting. I got my plant, so I'm going to do some planting. And
so you went and bought your plants, or did you order them online?
I went and bought
Home Depot?
No, I went to the ShopRite, the one near the Restaurant Depot out there in Union off of 22. And I got 3 different tomato plants. I got some basil, I got some spearmint, some peppermint. I got some thyme. I got some peppers. What else did I get? I got I'm going to plant some onions. I got eggplant. I got 2 different kinds of squash. And I got got zucchini. And what else did I get? That's it. This weekend I'm gonna go and get my potatoes, plant my potatoes, and then I should be set. I tell you, I'm gonna get some overalls too.
And be out there with them.
I'm gonna get the big hat.
You get a straw hat.
That's exactly right. I'm gonna get the hat. I'm gonna get the whole bit. I'm going all in.
Crocs.
And so when you see me stand in front of my house with my rifle over my shoulder, with my don't come messing with me.
Okay, and download the theme song, The Green Acres, okay?
Hey, listen, I'm telling you.
Wow.
This is the day. This is the age of COVID-19, guys. Listen, I think that we've covered a lot today. I know we got a little heated over the earlier part of the conversation, the Biden piece. But there are real lives at stake here, right? Not just politics, but real lives, families. And so we need to proceed with caution, guys, and with empathy and sympathy and compassion. Let's take this last call. Caller, go.
No, I just got to ask Diane. Diane, what are you watching? The facial expression you are making?
I didn't see. What are you watching?
Got a book on her.
What you watching, Diane?
Am I? I forget.
She's watching The Wax Whisperer.
I'm watching The Wax Whisperer. Jada, this is gross.
It is.
Stop looking.
Are you watching it?
I see the guy pulling cockroach out that ear.
No, I didn't see that.
Diane, can you stop watching? It's not behind you. You can't stop watching.
So listen, we gotta end the show so I can turn on The Wax Whisperer. Everybody watch it. We'll talk about it on Monday. Listen, we're
sorry, Erica.
I put one of her links in the thread. So one of her links is in the thread.
All right.
Okay.
I'm gonna check it out. Diane, thanks for everything that you do. Hey guys, please, look. Diane's had her business for how long?
Since 2007.
Since 2007.
Oh my gosh, she just pulled a bug out. This is gross.
I'm trying to plug Diane's business, and she. All right, I'm done.
That thing's like 3 centimeters long.
Have a great weekend,
Wait,
everybody.
you're watching it too, Vincent?
Yeah.
We're out. Thank you guys for tuning in. Love you all. Be blessed. Stay safe.
Stay safe. Be blessed, everyone. Until the next time we meet on the show again. God bless you.
Oh my God, it's so disgusting, but I'm gonna
go tune it on as soon as I get on.
I mean, you can't stop.
All right.
Literally, I was like, what is this black stuff? And it was a